A recent survey that I saw on Time.com claimed that men are more likely to be single than women, which came as a bit of a surprise to me. This is not a good sign. Therefore, it would appear that a seemingly inconsequential factor, the underground movement, has been brought to the attention of the mainstream media as a result of its expanding scale, and many who have observed it have come to the conclusion that what happened, or are they just concerned, as everyone should be before a period of substantial change as it approaches, as the case may be. Nevertheless, these figures shed a tremendous deal of light. It's not just that males are leading the workforce. There are also guys who remain who want to compete with women but believe they have no chance since modern women have raised the bar in terms of what's expected of them. It is interesting to note that contemporary women are a significant factor to the rise in these numbers as a result of their increased propensity to shun these individuals. They keep hanging around in the hopes that a good guy will eventually come along, but regular guys aren't interested in them at all. Why go all the trouble if they weren't going to be effective? If there was any sign that men were no longer playing the rigged game, it would be that they would risk their lives to get by with some average lady in a bar who is convinced she wants a guy with a Ferrari because she is simply a catch. This would be an indication that men were no longer playing the game as it was intended to be played. Men are abandoning their homes in droves, from well-known entertainers to average citizens. I can speak to the fact that male satisfaction is negatively impacted by the presence of females, and that this is something that should be avoided at all costs on the basis of both direct observation and personal experience. It only takes one claim or one phone call to get started. For this method to be successful, it is vital to acknowledge the fact that men are merely holding out hope for a superior alternative that is on the horizon right at this very moment. It is not inappropriate for women to spend time alone themselves. Recognize and accept each other for who you are, and refrain from harassing the males. The men in this world have had enough of it. We just don't have what it takes to be good fathers. We are not permitted to be masculine, and a single accusation has the potential to destroy our lives, whereas women are free to do whatever they wish while still having a positive attitude. In today's world, standards, the search for justice, and the cultivation of connections are largely unimportant. The most important things are to get your thoughts in order and to remind yourself how to function normally in the actual world. Let's play a game of pretend for a second and assume that the only two apps a woman in her 20s uses are Instagram and TikTok. Now think about how this has impacted the way she dates. She has never before had the opportunity to interact with some of the most stunning men in the world. Women are notoriously shallow, and as a result, she will evaluate her own attractiveness based on this trait. Suddenly, none of the men in her immediate vicinity are interested in her anymore. It makes no difference what she sees when she looks in the mirror at herself. She leaves the house in the hopes that Chris Evans will show up to ask her out on a date, and she goes to a nearby pub to enjoy some free drinks there in the meantime. The next thing you know, she's throwing a temper tantrum on Twitter and demanding to know, where are all the men? In addition to that, why is it that I can never find a man like that? However, what do you think about the dating pool? This game presents players with a number of potential traps that must be avoided. Where men can go to be taken advantage of, deceived, and have their money stolen from them. It is my objective to describe some typical mistakes that might be made in marketing. Fool you into thinking that you need to better yourself in order to sell yourself, while in fact the only improvements that are relevant that you can make are modest, time-consuming, and cosmetic. No matter who you are, women will always hold you to an artificial standard of comparison with the males who won the genetic lottery at birth. This will be the case regardless of whether or not you have any genetic advantages. It doesn't matter how many hours you put into her, she doesn't care. In the weight room or because your hand looks different, you will either develop some genuinely good-looking qualities or give up trying to draw anyone's attention completely, the compatibility trap. Belief. There is a widespread fallacy that two individuals who love spending time together and get along well are automatically compatible for a romantic partnership that will last for a lengthy period of time. Nobody is prepared to make a significant commitment in today's world. If you try to take things seriously and she prioritizes the tingles over you, then she will abandon you when you try to take things seriously. Women who have a history of sexual deviancy and a high body count who are currently attempting to become respectable in the hopes of selling their innocence to the affluent Peter in exchange for a pleasant existence. These women had been out on the dating market for some time, and because of this, they were well aware of how to take advantage of men who were still getting the hang of things. There are some situations in which she might be of assistance to him, but she will never have a romantic interest in him. The man will develop a conscience for rescuing other people, possibly even get married to the woman, and help them. Then, while she is having the time of her life, she will destroy his life by entangling him in a web of child support and divorce regulations while she is having the time of her life herself. The choices available to a man are restricted. Unfortunately for him, he is unable to influence the legal system of Western countries. Every single male on the face of the earth is aware of at least one man who has been caught in this trap and has pledged to never date again out of fear that they may lose their sanity. After only a few encounters with you, women have a tendency to feel as though they are entitled to your time and attention. She will use the one thing she has against you during the entirety of your relationship, which may or may not proceed beyond the stage of casual dating, in order to coerce you into purchasing items for her and other people. To put it another way, she won't sleep with you unless she feels comfortable doing so. She believes that she is entitled to it, and as a result, she is attempting to blackmail you into giving it to her. It's very similar to the practice of selling one's body for money, which was customary among women in the past and was especially prevalent in certain cultures. Men continue to wag their tails and follow her in the vain hope that one day she will be generous and drop them a bone, but if you're clever, you'll walk away, and that's what a lot of men did when faced with all of these traps, hazards, and allegations. Men continue to wag their tails and follow her in the vain hope that one day she will be generous and drop them a bone. Because dating a wasteful person is a never-ending drain on your resources, any reasonable man would be justified in asking why on earth he would ever want to waste his time, life, and everything on someone who is so completely opportunistic. Dating a wasteful person is a drain on your resources that never ends. In the interest of a fleeting sense of elation for some women, the alternative is to spend several years locked up or living in a squalid motel while having no money in the bank. I used to be friends with a guy who, sadly, did not succeed very well. During one's teenage years, he put a lot of effort into bettering himself and also launched an internet agency about the same time that his academic career was coming to an end. Because of the size of his salary, he was in a position to make some changes, which is typical for those of us who have achieved a level of financial security. As a consequence, one experiences a rise in self-assurance. In a manner analogous to the manner in which he bulked up after realizing he was underweight, he presently possesses more muscle than he did in the past. The individual was motivated by the fact that he vowed he would never allow himself to revert back to his previous ways of behaving. It should come as no surprise that women are drawn to him in the first place. Now, however, because he's lived long enough to have seen both the good and the evil in life, he's smart. One day he goes to a bar, and when he does, two women approach him and start contact with him. He advises them not to. To put it plainly, I had no interest in going out with you either. I quit going out on dates with different women. In addition to not buying you 2 drinks that day or making any commitments that will last for an extended period of time, there will also be no serious conversations or pledges made. It was astonishing to see how women responded when they were rejected. They completely abandoned their dignity and began telling him that he was an idiot for giving up so easy. He was completely oblivious to all that he was passing up. Observing his pampered children behave in such a way when he does not make the effort to interact with them is analogous to this situation. They started calling him homophobic names and putting the blame on him, most likely because no moral human being would ever turn down a lady in their life. The message that guys who are growing as individuals and leading meaningful lives are sending to women that they aren't getting is this: we're sorry, but we just can't have you around here anymore. What you look like is irrelevant. Please maintain a safe distance from us, regardless of how we feel about it. Your presence was never required. We never had any intention of breaking your trust in us. Just so the record is clear, we were never required to. We had no intention of causing you any damage, and we have always wished the best for you, but I suppose it's finally time to turn all of that agony into something you will never be able to have again. We have no interest in communicating with one another and have emotionally and verbally disconnected from one another. You are welcome to continue spreading the news. Even young boys in elementary school are aware of the harsh realities of today's dating scene, and while I apologize for being the one to break the news to you, it's acceptable. There have been a lot of guys who have attempted that in the past and failed horribly. And with that, I will see you tomorrow. I hope you had a good trip.